Okay. Now listen up, everybody. This one that we're about to watch together, I've already seen it. I watched it yesterday, and it is disgusting. It is so disgusting to learn that there are people who are trifling like this, okay? And you're thinking to yourself, what the hell? But you'll get to that point as well. And in between, there are going to be some comments shared, and you can't help but to agree to quite a few of them because this woman that I'm about to show you, this clip, is going to blow your mind. And this is exactly one of the things that I'm like, I get it. I get it when some men are just like, no, we are not interested, right? Especially if you have women who are trying to take advantage of legal systems. Now, today we have someone that you are not supposed to be playing with, right? Judge Judy is the wrong person to try to play smart with, okay? And we need more people like her. But yeah, just take a look and I hope you guys enjoy. And also, welcome back to the Talk Podcast. Okay, so let's get started. I hope you guys have your favorite beverage because this is going to take a minute.
His name. I know exactly what you did. I know exactly what you wanted, what you thought you were entitled to, and I know exactly it's his
Starting
home,
off
it's in his
right.
name. I know exactly what you did. I know exactly what you wanted, what you thought you were entitled to, and I know exactly what you did. I don't like when somebody circumvents the process by filing a restraining order when there is no basis for it in order to get a leg up in what isn't even a matrimonial action because the two of you aren't married. I want to see the allegations that you made against Mr. Gustafson to get him removed from his own home.
But the locks were changed. We lived there. He lived in
Just a second,
Monticello.
just because you changed the locks doesn't make you any less of a squatter. You're a squatter when you live someplace that isn't yours, that you don't pay rent on. You and your kid live there, rent free, mortgage free, in his house, based upon a restraining order that you don't have. Go find an apartment with your son.
This gentleman bought his house and had his girlfriend and her son living with him. But 2 months later, she got him kicked out.
Hi, du interessierst dich für ein Studium, bist beruflich oder privat aber voll eingespannt? Dann ist das flexible Fern...
But fortunately, she found herself in Judge Judy's courtroom. This judge doesn't play when it comes to injustice. She didn't let that slide. She made sure his ex-girlfriend understood that if she wanted to own a house, she will have to do it the right way, instead of using funny strategy to get someone else's property.
Miss Meadows, who's this young man?
It's my son, Gavin,
How old is he?
17.
This might not get pretty, so you want to have Gavin step outside for a while?
Keep in mind of what she just did there, okay? To send out the son. 17 is not a baby anymore, let's be honest about it. But just keep that in mind.
Miss Meadows, you and Mr. Gustafson lived together as a couple for a long time. At some point, according to your complaint and Mr. Gustafson's answer, you decided to buy a home. According to you together, according to Mr. Gustafson, it was his home. The deed to the home is in his name alone. Is that correct?
Correct.
There's some discrepancy as to who put down the down payment, who paid the bills. I don't know. I will find out. But at some point, the two of you weren't getting along. And at that point, it looks as if you filed for a protective order and had Mr. Gustafson excluded from the home.
Correct.
And that lasted almost a year.
I must say, she looks so harsh, right? This lady, not just like her jawline itself, but her eyes. She looks very harsh.
While it wound around the court system.
And we had been living in the home approximately 2 months.
And the home was in Mr. Gustafson's name, so it was his home because you were unmarried.
We bought it together, Your Honor.
Doesn't matter. The home is in his name. You're not married. The home is in what state?
Minnesota.
Minnesota, I assume, has the same laws as most places where you either have community property or equitable distribution if you're married and nothing if you're not, right? Nothing. It's his home. It's in his name. So in February of 2016, you'd been living in the home for 2 months. What kind of work were you doing?
At that time, I was a hairdresser and I had my own business with my leather works.
Did you file tax returns in 2016?
Yes, I did.
How much did you claim that you earned in
I
2016?
don't recall.
Give me a figure. 10, 20, 30,000?
$20,000.
$20,000. And what kind of work do you do?
I'm a union carpenter.
And how much did you claim that you earned in 2016?
I believe it was 72,000.
So clearly you were supportive of the household.
Yes,
How much of a down payment was put down on this house?
$1,000.
Is that correct?
correct.
And what was the total purchase price of the house?
$206,000.
Whose name was on the mortgage?
His name was.
Alone.
Correct.
So he is totally responsible for the mortgage, a $205,000 mortgage, with a mortgage payment of how much, sir?
1,300.
And the taxes, which you paid.
Yes.
In February of 2016, which is the date of your first restraining order after you moved into the house, I'd like to see a copy of what you alleged. Because ultimately, this is what the case is about. You want money owed for lost wages and fees due to a false restraining order. The fact that when he finally got back into his own home, you claim he returned property that was there while you were there for the year. Some of the property was vandalized, and punitive damages for an assault. That's what your claim is about. And he says he wants money for attorney's fees and vandalism. So that's why we're getting into all this minutiae. So I would like to see in February 2016 what allegations you made against the defendant in order to get
So let's just quickly go back because this part is important.
some of the property was vandalized and punitive damages for an assault. That's what your claim is about.
Some of the property was vandalized, okay? So someone destroyed things in that home.
His name was.
Alone.
Correct.
So he is totally responsible for the mortgage, a $205,000 mortgage, with a mortgage payment of how much, sir?
1,300.
And the taxes, which you paid.
Yes.
In February of 2016, which is the date of your first restraining order after you moved into the house, I'd like to see a copy of what you alleged. Because ultimately, this is what the case is about. You want money owed for lost wages and fees due to a false restraining order. The fact that when he finally got back into his own home, you claim he returned property that was there while you were there for the year. Some of the property was vandalized, and punitive damages for an assault.
That is what she is charging for, okay? And I'm sure already you're thinking to yourself, huh?
That's what your claim is about. And he says he wants money for attorney's fees and vandalism. So that's why we're getting into all this minutiae. So I would like to see in February 2016 what allegations.
And he is only there to claim for the charging the fees for the attorney, okay? Not even about the house.
You made against the defendant in order to get him removed from his own house.
Your Honor, okay.
Don't answer me.
Okay.
I want to see the allegations that you made against Mr. Gustafson to get him removed from his own home.
That's a valid request, and I know most of us have the same curiosity. We want to know what let them kick him out of his house and simultaneously allow the person who doesn't own it to remain there. If they had some sort of disagreement, the first thing she should have done was take her child and leave his property, instead of calling the authorities to get him kicked out. She isn't the owner, so why was she allowed to stay there? He shouldn't lose access to his house just because things weren't working between them.
I'm reading your complaint. In February
Different one.
2016, he started drinking and getting violent. I filed a restraining order and he was
Did she just say different one?
removed from the house. That's what you wrote. Do you want me to show you?
That was then, Your Honor. Okay. That was then. And then he came back. And
No. I want to know, is that the truth or a mistake or a lie that in February 2016, you filed a restraining order against him and got him removed from the house? That's my question.
Yes, ma'am. That is.
Then I want to see the allegations that you made in February of 2016 to get Mr. Gustafson removed from his own house. And I also.
You see, she did not expect that. She wasn't ready for harsh questioning, okay? I'm just assuming right now, perhaps she was thinking she's going to go into that situation and giving that's going to be another woman, and maybe giving the fact that she's already come so far, man or woman, whoever she's going to face, but giving that she's already come so far within the legal system, right, to take away someone's home that you don't own, that you've been actually just living there for free. You guys did this together, or more or less he did it, and say, yeah, sure, come in with your son, who's not a kid, he's a 17-year-old, okay? So she's been playing the game already. So in her mind, she's just gonna show up, put up a story, maybe change the voice because you saw the difference. This was someone who came up very clear spoken, harsh look. And the moment Judge Judy started with the first question, she already did the, but, what is going on?
So would like to see any of the medical records or supporting documents that you had to get him removed from his own house. While she's looking for those, Mr. Gustafson, who paid the mortgage on the house for the 10 months that she was living there?
I did.
Who paid the taxes for the 10 months that she was living there?
I did.
This was the hardest part of this story. Imagine what he went through when he was making those monthly payments without having access to his property. He was paying rent for two strangers, and I know it wasn't easy as he also had other bills. How can someone who
Think about it. It's the mortgage itself is, they say 1,300, 1,300. So 10 months, that's already 13,000 that man had to provide. With an income of 72, we're not even sure if that's net, right? So perhaps there are going to be taxes for so many other things. There are going to be insurance fees taking away from the yearly income itself. Then you need to provide money for the tax payment on the house, right? You need to provide money for the mortgage. And you need to now provide money for a second place where you need to accommodate yourself, right? Because you've been kicked out. Oh, you've been kicked out of your home. How does that make sense? And you need to get to work still because the world doesn't care what's going on, right? You still need to figure out how you're going to get from wherever you are right now, be it a different apartment, in a hotel, a motel, I don't even know. You need to get from A to B. Is it by car? Is it by public transportation? That, whatever it is still going to cost money. Now, we're humans. You need to eat, right? You need to eat. You need like all these things. And then within day-to-day life, things can go wrong. Things happen. You still like,
who was just a guest have more rights than the person who actually purchased the house?
I take people who file charges of domestic violence very seriously because domestic violence, whether it's perpetrated against a man or a woman.
yeah, and sorry for interrupting. That is the, like, to me, I hate for this man that he had to go through that. It's painful. I would react the same way if someone, if it was a man trying to take advantage, it doesn't happen that, but you get the gist. I would feel bad for that person, whoever it is. But I think the hardest part about the story is that this is a woman who's trying to misuse, violence and make a case where there's no case. While this is not a joking matter, like there are people who are really, oh, Jesus Christ.
Woman is an atrocious thing to have to live with. I don't like when somebody circumvents the process by filing a restraining order when there is no basis for it in order to get a leg up in what isn't even a matter.
She's still looking for the papers. She's just pretending there are no papers, right? But it's like, what you gonna do now? Are you gonna look up and face the fact that Judge Judy's gonna blast you and hold you accountable? Or are you just gonna pretend and hopefully something is gonna pop up that's gonna make somewhat kind of sense so you can keep up with your story? She's nervous. Let's go back. I'm sorry. This is not a funny case, though.
Charges of domestic violence very seriously because domestic violence, whether it's perpetrated against a man or a woman, is an atrocious thing to have to live with. I don't like when somebody circumvents the process by filing a restraining order when there is no basis for it in order to get a leg up in what isn't even a matrimonial action because the two of you aren't married. How long was he out of the house starting in February 2016 and you and your kid were living in the house, not paying the mortgage, not paying the taxes, and he was?
I did pay the mortgage and the taxes, and I have proof of those payments as well.
Ooh. Words have meaning. Be mindful.
Just a second.
She just claimed she did pay the mortgage.
Okay, I would like you to tell me how long he was out of the house.
10 months, Your Honor.
10 months. And so what you're going to show me are the 10 months worth of mortgage payments and taxes. Go through.
I don't have 10 months worth. I have the first months, and he changed the passwords on everything so nobody
Just a
could make
sec.
the payments but himself.
Listen to me carefully. The answer is you didn't make payments on the mortgage or the taxes. You have an excuse.
This was a bit funny. When the judge asked her who made those payments while she was living there, she confirmed that she made them, which means she
I'm thinking to myself, what is this woman even fighting for? Okay, why are you even there? It doesn't make sense. Just go. Okay, because with what she said, my normal thinking is that he just took over the cost and you were still in that house. Does that make sense? Because what are you trying to paint? You're just making you're just making your case even worse. It's his home. It's his name. You kicked him out of the house. You cannot afford. Let's talk about that for a minute. You actually cannot even afford it with your whatever kind of hairdresser job or whatnot. I'm not downplaying that. With your business that makes perhaps 20K a year. Okay. It's not about making fun, but you cannot afford that. Okay. And then he's like, fine, not gonna fight that you kicked me out, but at least I'm gonna make sure that this mortgage is still gonna get paid, because the reality is the bank, they don't care what is going on in your private life. That money still needs to come, okay? Otherwise you're gonna face other kind of consequences, right? So given that it's his name on it, he even decides to keep on with the payment, took the burden away, switched the password. You don't even know. And you're still in that house. Why are you even standing here in front in court? It doesn't make sense. What are you fighting for? And then to say, I did pay the mortgage when you paid 1 month. I'm not even sure that was the mortgage. Wasn't that some kind of the down payment, which is a really nice down payment, right? To get access to that. But perhaps they give that to them because they, looked into his papers and so, okay, stable income, that they did the math, and it makes sense because a down payment of 1K to a house that's, up to 210,000 is, it's quite an easy down payment. But that doesn't mean you did a lot. Let's be honest. Someone who's been paying 13,000 just the mortgage, not even plus taxes and everything else, and you just there in the house. Why are you standing in court? What are we fighting for? What are we fighting for?
paid 10 months of mortgage. However, when the judge asked her to present the evidence, she changed her story. Now she only paid the first month. So, they lived together for 2 months, and she paid once and lived there with her.
I'm telling you, even that, the way I'm looking at this woman now, I'm watching this again, and I'm even thinking, I'm sure that 1K that she paid, I'm sure she kind of took it back from me. She's like, yeah, give me back my 1K.
Son for free for the next 10 months. That wasn't fair to the guy who just wanted to support her and her son. Nobody should ever be removed from their own home in cases like this. It's ridiculous. As a woman, I understand why some men don't want to get married. Imagine allowing your girlfriend to move in with you, and in 2 months
So now this is America. Things are always a bit different over there, but they tend to inspire other European countries, right? So what I'm trying to get is, yeah, I know some people are going to be like, oh, it's not European, but Western cultures, you get that. What I'm trying to get is people need to understand that, yes, marriage is a beautiful thing. It's a good thing. And for those who choose it, I love that, right? But within those, coming together as a couple and getting married or even bringing someone in, I think people forget or are not aware. It's something you need to learn. And sometimes, unfortunately, painful in this case. This has nothing to do with age, because some people know, some people don't. Some people will experience it, some won't. And I hope most don't, if they are just aware about the moment you choose to bring someone into your home or connect bank accounts or go into marriage or whatever, understand, okay? Understand what the laws and the rules in your state, in your country, in your city, in your county. I don't know. Just where you are in your village, just understand. We forget that because at the end of the day, if you did not just to decide to, have your friendship ring on, there is some kind of external involvement, and people forget that. So just, I don't know, ask questions, be aware.
He kicks you out of your own house for over a year. All the police had to do was ask who owns the home. His name is on all the paperwork. If they'd done 2 minutes of a background check before kicking this man out of his own home, they would have seen that it wasn't possible based on her income.
That is also a good question. The fact that how did she even manage to, get him kicked out with nothing happening, or what was the story behind? We don't know. I'm not sure we're going to get too much into that. But the reality is, unfortunately, we have seen so many of these cases. I'm not here to support this. I don't think it's good, because the problem is, when then there is something really happening, you have cases where no one is taking it serious because too many have been playing around with this. This is nothing to be playing around with. You have cases where, I hate to say it, but where, women would lie and come up with a story knowing very well that they can use and take advantage just because of everyone has bought into the idea that we're just sweet like that. I just don't know how to put it, but you guys know, right? And it's so bad, and this is just another situation. It's so good when people who do stuff like this actually do get exposed. To me, I think it's good, right? Because I hope for them that they kind of understand what they did is wrong, and also it teaches other people really not to try. Don't go there.
That she was the homeowner. When Judge Judy sent the kid away, I paused the video to go grab a snack. It all seems planned. Get the house. Lived in it for 2 months. Files an order to get him out of the house.
But you and your kid lived there, rent-free, mortgage-free, in his house, based upon a restraining order that you don't have. How did I know you either wouldn't have it or it would be a whole lot of baloney? So then the two of you hired lawyers, and then everybody's...
How is that even possible, that she cannot provide the restraining order? She doesn't have it. It's not even like, because normally in that case, they could easily come up with the copy of it, right? But it seems like there was never any. Did she just lie to his face and said, yeah, I have a restraining order against you, and showed him? I don't know. How does that happen? Now I'm really confused.
Spending money. Did you pay your lawyers? Did you pay your lawyer?
Yes, I did.
How much did you pay him?
$2,000.
What's the name of your lawyer? And how much have you paid that lawyer?
I paid him $7,000 and I still owe him 10.
So now, for no valid reason that I can think of, he's out of the house. It's his house. He's paying the mortgage. He's paying the taxes. You want to stay there? Send the check to him. You don't have to pay the mortgage. You know what the mortgage is. You know what the taxes are. So now, 10 months later, something happens. You want to tell me what happened? I mean, I read your complaint. I know I see this. I see what happened. You want to tell me what happened? Sure, go ahead.
Yes,
10
ma'am.
months later.
10 months later, he starts calling and says, my lawyer quit, you won. I have it all in text messages.
Right. My lawyer quit. You outlet.
The way she hit the table, like, girl, you're just making your case even worse. Some people, I can't believe this. I watched it once already, and it's still so shocking, right? So you went ahead and got some weird lawyer who's willing to probably provide some crazy, shocking papers for 2K. He has really something to lose, so he's going to get a lawyer that's going to try and fight the case. And good lawyers are really expensive. Even the ones who are not maybe the best lawyers are already expensive. But so I give up. Your lawyers won. I quit. Is basically, you're ruining this man. That was the plan. You're ruining him. He's going to have to pay those lawyers. At some point, he cannot even fight the case. There is no case, but in his head, there's something to fight, right? But he doesn't have the money to keep fighting the case, and now he's just going to be left with giving up the house because you're hoping he's such a goofball. And unfortunately, oh my God, I don't want to say it, but...
Blasted him. You were able to pay a lawyer. You were able to keep this thing going in the courts. He had no more money to pay the lawyer. You weren't paying the mortgage. He was. Okay. So he said, You won. I got exactly what you did. Precisely what you did. So you said
Wait,
to pay the lawyer. You weren't paying the mortgage. He was. Okay. So he said, you won. I got exactly what you did. Precisely what you did.
Precisely.
So you said
we know
what?
you're up
Your
to.
Honor,
So you said what?
I said, well,
Your Honor, like, who do you think you're talking to? It's none of your friends or your girl. He's trying to give her code, like, girl, Your Honor, like, girl, don't drag me down, but she's not your friend.
let's make a deal then.
Good. Let's make a deal. I want you to tell me what deal you wanted to make with him for his own house.
I wanted to buy the house from him.
For how much?
How? This is the funniest. I've never had to laugh so hard. Oh my God, get yourself together. How? How are you going to buy that house with your income?
Much.
For the $206,000 plus any money that he put into it. It was arranged with our lawyers in the documents I have.
I'm
Okay,
telling
and
you,
were
delusional
prepared
people
to
really come
pay
far.
him
They
that
really come
and get
far.
another
It's
mortgage
mad.
on your $20,000 a year income, and there are 1,000 banks after 2008 who are going to give you a mortgage on a $206,000 house on $20,000 worth of income.
This was the sad part of this story. It got to the point where he no longer had more funds to fight for his own property, and he was willing to give up and let her keep it. But I still don't understand.
That part. Basically, this man said, you know what? I'll leave it to it. I'll leave it to you. Like, I don't know how you say, but ich lass halt einfach. Passt schon. He's like, I don't care. You can stay in that house, do whatever you want with that house. I'm not even fighting the house anymore. Actually, from jump, if you think about it, from jump, he never even fought anything. Okay? She kicked him out and he left. Kept paying the mortgage, switched the password, took the burden away. He's like, okay, I'm just gonna, maybe he was hoping they're gonna kind of like get back together, talk about it, whatever. But the fact that from jump, this man never showed any retaliation, any kind of headache to this topic. He's just like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna keep paying the house. I don't get it. What is she fighting for? That is so stupid.
Understand why she thought it was fair to take someone else's house. He ended up spending
She
$17,000
played
on
herself,
something that made no
actually, to
sense.
be honest.
He
I'm sure
didn't
she
have to do
never.
that.
I'm sure she never liked the person. That is the whole thing about it, right? So be careful, people, when you're with people who don't really like you, right? Because if you think about it, the whole story doesn't make sense. They were a couple, boyfriend and girlfriend. She already had her kid, a grown, almost grown young man, 17-year-old, right? They lived there. He provided for them. If you actually just think about it, I'm thinking to myself, why not? You see, sounds like a good start for a great life. They're middle age, whatever. I don't know how you say it. You could think to yourself, wow, she hit the jackpot, right? You could just think to yourself, good, great, good for both of them, good for the son, good for her. To be honest, I'm going to emphasize on the good for her. You could just think, girl, you get to do your job, your little side job, and you get to explore more time into your business. You are not forced in any way, shape, or form to actually take parts into paying taxes on or mortgage, and you have your man. Best life, right? But she never liked him. She never liked him. Otherwise, this equation would have made sense. It would have been equal to love. All the thing that I said would have been X is gleich love. But it's not.
But he found himself against the wall, and he did what he could to save his property. Thankfully, justice was made in the end. Did you notice how the judge was talking to her? She was able to understand his ex-girlfriend's plan, and that didn't sit well with her. After getting him drained financially, she was talking about a deal to keep the house. But I don't even know how she would.
The reality is, most other women know when other women are playing funny games. I just said it. Some girls are not gonna like me saying stuff like that. But we know. And that's why the few tiny circles of men who kind of have a close friend, obviously that's not going to last long, because at some point when you are in a relationship, that good friend of yours, that female friend, is going to go. But we've all, or some people may have experienced that or heard about stories like that. There's this friendship, and then there's this girl that's coming in. The girl can tell that guy what that other girl is about. If she's honest, okay, she can also easily ruin the whole thing. That's another story for another day.
Have it under her name when she doesn't earn enough.
I know exactly what you did. I know exactly what you wanted, what you thought you were entitled to, and I know exactly what you did.
But the locks were changed. We lived there. He lived in
Just a second,
Monticello.
just because you changed the locks doesn't make you any less of a squatter. You're a squatter when you live someplace that isn't yours, that you don't pay rent on. That makes you a squatter.
I have equitable rights, Your Honor.
No, you didn't. No court in this country will tell you you had equitable rights in this country. Equitable is when you're married. You're not.
So all the money that I put.
Wow. She's still on that game. Equitable rights. You kicked that man out of his house. Did not contribute anything financially. And then still there's this question open about why were things damaged in the house, right? You're talking about rights and equitable